Okay, Mr. Phobes here. I'm going to show you how to create these uh, octahedron templates that we're going to laser cut. So I'm going to get rid of these. But this is the basic layout, but I'm going to show you how we're going to draw them. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these. Okay, so this is the 3.75 icosahedron template, and it's in your files on Blackboard. Okay, so you can see that there's a grid here that I've drawn, and the 3.75 is the radius. So um, you can I can eventually show you how to scale the grid up and down, but this is exactly the same size that we use to create the analog. Okay, so uh, the next thing we want to do is we want to open up the Illustrator file that is also there. So we're going to go File, Open, and I have one. It is called the Platonic Solid Illustrator file. So you're going to open that up. Just hit ignore. All right. And what we want to do is we're going to crop to the icosahedron. And the way we're going to do that is by cropping the artboard. So go to the artboard tool, and then we're just going to grab the artboard like this, and like this. And then we're just going to save it. Now, I forgot to say, we want to make sure you're in Essentials Classic, not Essentials. That's our working space. And so, okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm just going to save it as an Illustrator template. So I'm going to call it icosahedron. I'm sorry, this is octahedron. And I'm going to save it as an Illustrator file. I'm going to go Save. It's going to say Replace it because I already have one on top. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my Illustrator file here, which is the template, and I'm going to place, I'm going to go File, Place, whoops, sorry, go File, Place, and I'm going to find the icosahedron, I'm sorry, octahedron AI file. There it is. Sorry, my desktop's a mess. I'm going to place it on here. Um, I placed it in this drawing layer, and you can see that it's in another layer on top of the grid itself. What I want to do is I want to scale it up until it matches. So I'm going to go to the scale or the selection tool and hit shift, and I'm going to scale this until the triangles line up. It doesn't have to be exactly right, but the thing is that as a group you all need to use the same. Once you've got it, you've got to use the same template. Okay, so that's pretty close because I'm going to actually just trace on top of this. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to change the opacity. So I want to bring the opacity to this pretty far down. Okay, all right, and I'm going to lock it. I'm going to lock both these layers, and I'm going to create a new layer by going create new layer. And this one I'm going to call the octahedron. Okay. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to go to the pen tool, but I want to go down here and make sure that that the fill is not set. So the default is like this. So this would be the fill. This is the stroke. So I'm going to select the fill, and I'm going to hit the little non sign, and then I'm going to bring the stroke forward. And then I want to change the color of this, and I want it to be red. So I'm going to go CMYK red. Okay. Now, we can convert this. Eventually, it needs to be an RGB red, but that's fine. So what I want to do now is I want to basically trace my drawing here, and I want to trace along the grid. So this is just sort of a guide. So I want to go right to where it says intersect, okay? And then I'm just going to, so actually I'm going to go up to here. The tabs aren't critical, but when I get to here, I want to make sure it says intersect. And then intersect, scroll down, intersect. We're just going to do the outline of this because that's all we need to cut out. Okay, so I'm going to go up here to get out of the selection. Then I'm going to select everything, or what it's still selected. What I want to do is I just want to increase the stroke so I can just see it. When we bring it into the laser file, we're going to have to reduce the stroke to something that the laser can read. So there it is. Now I need to just copy this. So I'll select it, and then I'll select the Option key on the Mac, hit the Option key, and then the select, drag, and then it copies it. And what I want to do is, because I want to get two of these on here, now I got to be really careful that I stay within the parameters of the laser. So I want to be right about there. I'm going to move this over as far, so I want to nest these together really close. And I'll probably move this down just a little bit because I want to stay well away from this edge. Okay, now with this selected, I'm going to hit Command C, Command F, paste it on front. I'm going to then go Edit, Object Transform, and I'm going to go Rotate. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, all right? And then I'm going to drag it over and position it. And there we go, okay? So now what I want to do is I'm going to save these like these are, but I want to open up the Illustrator template for the laser cutter. So I'm going to go File, Open. And again, you're going to have to download that. I'm going to use this this laser template here. So this is the one on the machine. I'm going to go Open. Okay, this is what it looks like. And this is actually the space that we're going to work within right here. So it's a 18 by 24, and then I'm going to go back to, no, it wasn't that one, it was this one. And I'm going to copy, so I'm going to hit the Shift key and it's going to select them all, and I'm going to go Command C to copy, and then go back here, and then I'm going to hit Command V, and it'll paste them right in there. And again, so these red lines here are the danger lines, so I got to stay away from those. So move this over, and I can move this up just a little bit, and then I'm going to move this guy up a little bit, and that should be good. Okay. One of the things you want to do is that the stroke, so we got to do a couple of things. We got to make sure that the stroke is 0.001. So now you're not going to be able to see it barely at all, but it's there, all right? And that we want to make sure that that it is in fact the laser red. Okay. All right. So now we're going to save it. So we're going to go File, and we're going to go save as. And so let's call this octahedron cut, something like that. All right. So we're going to save it as an Illustrator file. We're going to go save. Okay, now if you're in 2020, it's going to ask you what version, and we're going to call it a legacy file because the program on the laser cutter is an older one. So save it as a C Illustrator legacy file, and then so it says it may, there's no text layout, just hit OK. All right, and saves to the desktop. All right, so that's it, and then you'll be ready to bring that into the laser file. Okay.